Good evening, folks. I'm from Gadigal land. Aboriginal land, that's the land we're on at the moment. I'd like to take this opportunity this afternoon to extend a warm and sincere welcome to any of my Aboriginal brothers and sisters, non-Aboriginal brothers and sisters. If we have any brothers and sisters from the Torres Strait or further afar across the seas, welcome. Welcome to Gadigal land.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to all our special guests and our supportive audience. We are fortunate this evening to be meeting in this beautiful room and in this stunning location on the land of the Gadigal people.
It was they who first used this as a gathering place for celebration, feasting and dancing over thousands of years.
I recently learnt its name in Gadigal is translated as where the knowledge waters meet, referencing the great creative energy at the point where the fresh and salt waters combine.
Essentially, the dreaming that it can enable and inspire. No one understands the size, complexity and weight of our collective responsibility better than Richard Johnson, who's played such an integral role in the evolution of this building and helping to ensure the elaboration and realisation of the original architect's vision.
I've increasingly thought and often said that the true influence of this building, our great Sydney Opera House, is yet to be felt. But the more I struggle to understand this place, to truly understand this place, the more I realise the importance and growing potential of its intangible cultural heritage alongside the tangible. I looked for examples of other sites, other special sites, where tangible and intangible values of a place were inseparable and seen as part of a living culture. The genesis for this thinking started with my first trip to Ise, Grand Shrine in the Mie Prefecture in Japan, some too many years ago. Here, as a young architect, I was encouraged to consider that in architecture there is not the historic and the new, there is an evolving continuity, to realise that historic buildings and places are important not only for what they tell us about the past, but also as inspiration for contemporary practice and continuing creativity. The Sydney Opera House, as we know, is now an undeniable and universally recognised symbol of Sydney and indeed Australia. It illustrates the power of design based on common elements, which are all related, defined geometrically, able to be produced industrially, but at the same time maintain organic and poetic freedom of form. It is an example also of the creative uses of technologies way ahead of their time. Ise Jingu, the Shinto shrine of the Japanese imperial family, has often been referred to as the symbolic birthplace of the Japanese spirit, the presence of the past and the promise of the future. These simple, relatively modest buildings are constructed from 4 materials: Japanese cypress, thatch, stone and gold, crafted to exacting dimensions and tolerances, with great understanding of the material, its weathering and shrinkage. Adjacent to each shrine, in an east-west axis, is an identical site on which the building is carefully rebuilt or renewed every 20 years, that is, every generation. So the whole renewal process is an amazing expression of a living culture. It not only involves preservation and maintenance of historic traditions of construction, but also all of the arts and crafts, rituals, festivals and celebrations. In addition to the building structures, over 1,000 ritual objects are remade, many of them by eminent artists and artisans who are national living treasures. Surprisingly, there are a number of interesting similarities between the two sites. Both, in their own way, are national symbols of place and excellence. Both are spiritual sites with a remarkable connection to their setting. Both retain the function for which they were built. Both have employed high levels of skill, craft and precision in their making. Both are a continuing influence on building technology and provide inspiration for the community, and particularly all in the performing and visual arts. Both enjoy about the same number of visitors annually, 8 million. Both are examples of a living culture with ceremonies, rituals and performance integral to their existence. It is interesting to speculate if for extraordinary sites like Gizeh and the Opera House, we considered tangible and intangible values together. As somebody once said, as two sides of the same coin. How might this impact the way we currently view our great urban inheritance? And can we care for fabric and site alongside aspects of intangible cultural heritage? For the Opera House, I argue for a more complex view of heritage inheritance that would positively influence the governance of this remarkable place. What if there was complete synergy between the functions, events, celebrations that happen and the physical opportunities and constraints of the fabric? There would be no need to balance one against the other. What if the same rigour and processes as applies to any change to the physical fabric was applied to all other activities of the house, including temporary events and celebrations?
It struck me as something I'd thought about a while ago, reading a Dutch urban design theorist actually talking about public places and that preparedness for place to be sublime when empty. And it struck me at the time that we pursue so vigorously a certain kind of urbanity to avoid some of those deathly urban environments that I think we've probably created during the 20th century at times, that we might have forgotten that sublime quality that some of your photographs showed of a tremendous public space, unpeopled or lightly peopled as opposed to crowded with vivid spectators.
Tonight we all enjoyed walking across an empty forecourt, the greatest public piazza in the world, linked to the city, to the harbour and to a visionary spectacle in front of us. I think there needs to be opportunities for events and performance in addition on the forecourt. Woodson did see that, but I don't think he saw a huge stage trucked in as that backdrop.
Sometimes conservations are thought to be a kind of impediment, but it really is an obligation to be wholeheartedly embraced, and I hope that's the way the Sydney Opera House Trust are heading, and that they will note your comments about the forecourt, which I thoroughly embrace too.
Where is the innovation now? I mean, we don't have a government architect's office anymore. Where's the basis for this coming from industry? It didn't always come from the government architect's branch, but it was there.
I think there is a whole regime of checks and balances being developed, but I think we need to be more astute and questioning of the standard procedures that we're currently adopting for procuring public buildings. If they haven't, since this building was built, produced another great masterpiece, why haven't they? And what could we do that might maximise that opportunity? Other cities, as we know, around the world are desperate to have an opera house. No one's got one. We've got the best chance of getting another one because right on our doorstep is the evidence of how it was done. And it wasn't just the genius of Woodson, it was a unique combination of things that facilitated the genius to produce. So I'm optimistic that if the planets are not aligned at the moment, there's time for them to be aligned, but I hope in my lifetime I see another masterpiece.
Thank you so much, Richard.